budget practice through the year and months. But those expenditures and or revenues and what you feel an inmate is costing the county falls under the authority of the county. And the practices of accounting those issues, we provide you the information monthly and yearly anyways. By putting it into a ordinance requiring the sheriff that they shall complete a report on said information violates AG's opinions and former case law that would erode the authority of office of sheriff. And if not just me, I'm doing it for the sheriffs in the state. You're requiring something the sheriff to report out on that violates certain opinions and or court cases of the past. I have to say that. If I don't say that, I'm not doing my role as sheriff through the whole state.
So what you're saying is other counties mirror what you're doing.
What I'm saying is that under certain court cases that have been recognized through the Supreme Court, the sheriff does not have to follow through with the reporting like you're saying. And they can't create an ordinance forcing the sheriff to do something. It's in law. It's in court case. But the information's available to you. It's your information. That's what's so.
I guess my question.
You can do it on your own. You
I
don't
guess
need
my
the
thing
sheriff.
is that it would be almost, it would be easier, I think, to have it the way this, where it'd be more streamlined. I know it would be probably more of a burden on your people, but when it comes to if I request or somebody on a board or whatever wants to request, even the citizens want to request something, then they don't have to do the round robin thing where they have to go to, finance and where you know what I mean? So this would basically, am I correct, Tom, if that's what we're looking at is more of a streamlined approach to this?
It would streamline the approach. Currently, 6 of the job descriptions for the sheriff's department's command staff have financial obligations and to report, provide reports to the sheriff to present to law enforcement committee. It's the law enforcement committee's job to oversee the budget. We approve an annual budget. If we didn't have a monthly accountability to the sheriff's budget, we just give them a lump sum of money at the beginning of the year, and there would be no purpose in you meeting for the rest of the year. This just gives a consistent formula and transparency to the taxpayers of Jackson County on what it costs, the formula on what it costs. It doesn't say who he contracts with or how many staff he has or anything. It's just a consistent formula to be accountable to the taxpayers and to oversight of Jackson County to let us know how much it costs to have an inmate in the jail. I don't understand. I guess, Sheriff, I don't understand why it's so complicated or why we're getting so much pushback on it when we pay a lot of your staff a lot of money because of their financial components and their job descriptions. If you don't want to have the financial responsibilities of generating reports, accurate reports back to the oversight committee who do control the budget and the purse strings, so to speak, for your department, then say so, and we'll strip it all back to some financial department, and you won't have to do it. We'll calculate it on our own anyway.
As a response, I don't disagree with the data you're seeking. You have to understand that. Make it clear that part of the government's setting the budget does require information. What I am debating and telling you that it doesn't allow that you can create an ordinance to force the sheriff to create a report out that doesn't exist. And now you put in an ordinance to make it exist. I get it. You're pulling the make a policy ordinance moment, but it violates court case rulings that the county can't create the sheriff to make a report. And your corp counsel said, this is a budget thing. This is for you and your finance to do. You can get the information you want. I'm just saying you're placing it under the umbrella of something that you could get this without having the sheriff's role in that. And it puts more strain on the staff to create these records and now create a report. it's already there. If you guys want to put the data points together and calculate your end response, it just should fall within a office that has the fiscal information readily available, because we would also then have to go and seek the data through different sources of record, the official records. So it's putting more strain on the office, but you're also going beyond the scope of what the purpose is. If this is important, finance should be doing it just like they put out a budget report every month. I'm not saying it shouldn't. I think you're putting it in the wrong ordinance, and the data can be there for your seeking. It's just that other people should be putting the data together for your purpose. Now you're demanding that the sheriff and then using a job description of a financial report as a mechanism to say that we don't want to comply. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the information you're seeking and you're trying to create an ordinance, law, policy, whatever you're choosing to do, is in the wrong spot.
Question. So the monthly inmate census report, you do that report right now or not?
We do an ADP report and you have it in your packet. It's part of the jail.
It's part of the monthly jail. And is that called the monthly jail census?
Well, it's in the report.
But you already do that,
It's there.
right?
I think the complication is that as expenditures come and go and revenues are coming and going, that would also have us to seek other means of official records to do that. It's not that
So,
the process can't be done.
Yeah.
It's just the wrong department doing that process.
well, in reading the ordinance, the only thing in here that I see that calls for the sheriff to do anything is the monthly census filing. It says the sheriff shall cause the monthly inmate census report be used for the calculation of ADP. That's the only place in this ordinance where I see that the sheriff has to supply something.
The way Tom's reporting out
They
his,
say we already do that.
but he's also saying that he'll create this report for you to review. That's been verbally said. So there's an expectation, and the delivery of this information is requiring jail or jail staff designees or sheriff to create this report for the county to review. And I'm saying, good and fine, but the county can do that on their own. They don't need the sheriff or have that expectation on the sheriff's staff to do something. They can do it on their own. That's the point.
Wouldn't it be, let's say, okay, so let's say we're requesting information. And that information has to go through a few channels, probably yourself, chief deputy, maybe where's Kaylin today?
She's not here right now.
Okay, it'd be nice to have her here. But anyway, Kaylin and then the lieutenant. But anyway, go down the line, and in that way we could get the information we want, which would work its way back up, I would imagine, right? Or would it come right directly to us at that point as a member of the LEC or something we're requesting? Let's say I want to request the amount of meds that are going out on a daily basis.
I don't know if we can give you that anyways, but
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, not people, not the individuals. I'm just saying the cost. Let's say it costs. So let's say I'd want to know what the cost was yesterday. So I would have to go down and we would have to get a hold of Kaylin or the chief deputy, of course, probably, and then he'd have to make. But the thing of it is that there's a lot of people involved, right? Requesting these. So I guess the thing of it is that I think personally that it would be easier just to have the ability to go and have you bring it to us. I know you don't like that because it would be another record.
I
Maybe I'm reading it
think
wrong.
you're missing the point. You're creating ordinance to a point, the way it's been described, and maybe Bill's read it differently, but the ADP's been given to the county and the committee year after year, and it's in your packet today. Some of those bullet points of revenues and expenditures become official at the county clerk's office or the accounting practice of the county. The treasury also has a requirement to track those revenues and things that are coming into the county. There's many steps that would have to be verified and forwarded on through the process of how the county does their business. At the end, if you're seeking that set data, it's already placed in some accounting practice that can be put into a calculation that you desire for that purpose. It's already available to the county. And I'm not sure why it has to go into county ordinance anyways. If you guys seek it, you should be able to ask that question no matter what to get said information. We are providing the records and or information already. So even if it's in the ordinance, I would agree, it doesn't, it's there, it's been there. And I'm not for sure why an ordinance needs to be created at all when you could have been doing this the whole time. As a county.
I don't know where the genesis of this ordinance came from. I don't think it came from the sheriff's department. I've always felt that the law enforcement committee and the sheriff got along pretty good. I don't see why we need to make this an ordinance. Like, I think this is good information to have. I can probably forget a bank. I know financials. I can probably calculate the data myself. Maybe it's the best practice. Maybe just encourage the sheriff's department if when we get to November or August or whatever, we're gonna start doing budgeting stuff. Just out of curiosity, what is your cost to house an inmate on an average daily basis or whatever? But historically, our budget's always been really good. Like, I don't think we've ever gone, you remember, you've been on a long time. Have we ever gone over budget on the sheriff's department or even the jail?
Well, if something unexpected
Yeah.
happens, like all the computers you go out or something, you
Yeah.
gotta replace.
But I think this is more of a stick approach, and I think by maybe forcing an ordinance upon the sheriff's department that I really think if we would just cooperate and work together, I think this is information we get, but I don't want to have the law enforcement committee at odds with the sheriff's department. And, yeah, we have to do our oversight, but the data's already there. Enforcing an ordinance upon the law or the sheriff's department, I think is just an overburdensome thing. So I think let's just work together.
Comment, Corcoran? Comment, anything else? No, I think I pretty much, made the argument that needs to be made, Mr. Chairman. I still strongly believe in transparency, and we pay folks, we approve an annual budget and job descriptions within the sheriff's department that have financial components to it. They perform other financial tasks for us that are absolutely necessary to function for the county. And I don't see this as any different than any other task. And if we're to make decisions on if we're going to continue to house state inmates or not, it'd be kind of nice to know what our actual costs are. Trumbull County does know what their actual costs are. They contract an outside firm to come in and calculate that for them. Maybe that's what we want to do here. I don't know, but they do pay an out, but they do actually know their actual daily inmate cost. We've heard disputed numbers before. I have something in writing from Captain Rich that says cost us $69.77 a day, which ensued the argument, or I shouldn't say argument, the inquiry of a lot of people going, well, why is it cheaper for us to house inmates in another county and it costs us so much here? We've heard the sheriff say in the meeting that it's fluid, and I agree with him. It's fluid. There's a lot of variables that could do that. But he said it could rise above over $100 a day per inmate. Potentially realistic, depending on what his medical costs are. But my intent was when I proposed this was to get us a basic, simple formula so we would know at least once a year what our actual inmate costs were. I don't think it's an excessive request. I think it's key to budgetary success. I would argue, Max, about the not going over budget. I mean, we just approved this. We needed to take $43,000 out of Ho-Chunk funds for tasers. So that's not within the budget. That's over the budget. But, I don't want to get into the weeds with that, respectfully. But still, I don't think that this is an unrealistic ask to have a basic formula. I sat here in the peanut gallery and watched Supervisor Loren ask for 8 straight months for the formula to calculate a daily inmate housing cost. And it went unanswered. So I appreciate you letting me talk, Garth, and that's all I have to say.
Anything else, by anybody? Okay, no motion.
We'll make a motion to stop.
I second.
Motion made by Bill to adopt the ordinance, seconded by Russell. Roll call vote. Russ?
Aye.
No.
Yes.
No.
Motion failed. Fine. Discuss an act on jail meal, RFP.
Should be in your packet. It's that time of year that we're preparing for meal services to the jail. Again, currently our contracts with Perkins, but every end of contract requires a RFP procedure. We just need that approved. It's been to Corp Council, and we'd like to start sending that out for future, the bidding and subsequent steps.
Any questions? Discussion?
When was it? When's it needed back by? Or what was the deadline on it? Oh, June, that's I thought it's on there. How do you guys advertise this in the paper or just?
We do a couple combination things.
Okay.
It might be, I caught me off guard there, but I know that we deliver it to all the restaurant
Oh.
opportunities in the county.
Okay,
There are like 3 or 4 well-known, bigger vendors that are outside our county. Summit, that's not Summit anymore, it's something else, but what other jails would use. So, we give them an opportunity. And, again, the hospitals included in that. So we've had other past vendors that supported that.
is it too hot for the cold?
Yes.
Okay, Peter Morgan,
I'll motion to do the RFP.
okay, Max, making a motion to approve the RFP, seconded by Ron. All in favor, say yes.
I,
Those opposed, say no. Motion carried. Discuss an act Reentry Navigator funding opportunity.
Yeah, this just come up, well, it's a grant, so it's in the process of needing to be submitted. This grant is a DHS grant that allows 100% reimbursements of a possible position for reentry and navigate, or whatever term you want to use, for law enforcement funding sources to support reentry of inmates from the jail to the community. And we were seeking to submit that grant. So we, by the rules, we have to get permissions to seek that grant. We'd like to submit and see if we would be awarded a potential, I think it's called a case manager type position for programming and reentry of inmates to the community.
Discussion?
Yeah, so where is this predominantly gonna lie? I saw on here where it says that you guys should be the submitters of it, but is this gonna be managed by Department of Health and Human Services once we are awarded?
It would be internal. It'd be a staff member of ours for the jail.
So are we gonna be duplicating services then between us and DHS?
DHS does not do reentry inmates to the community. They don't take an inmate that's in custody and prepare them for reentry programming and steps.
So this funding, once the person leaves the jail, so this stops at that point?
This person would segue and be the bridge to those services in the community, like
Right.
DHS. Right now, lacking some of that transition and handoff is one of the things that we're not doing well, or at least need to be improving on. We're doing the best we can with what we have. This would just segue us into doing better and working with our other professional partners like DHHS to maintain, so there's no gaps of service.
Any other discussion?
well, when's it due by? Are they gonna award this in May already? Or,
I think that it's a pretty, the timeline kind of on the packet, but 31st is a submittal.
oh, it's due by March 31st, and then, well, I seen somewhere and they're gonna like do an award on May of 26, is that true?
Yeah, they have a first phase and a second
Oh.
phase for next year. So there's a transitional spending that happens this year, prep and stuff, and get into the course of it.
Oh,
The majority of the spending, I believe, you look at 727.
oh, okay. This is so funny, at DHHS yesterday, they got awarded, didn't they get awarded that DOG grant the Department of Justice grant. Now here you guys are applying for Department of Health Services. Is there any, like in larger counties, do they have like, they have a larger budget, say like LaCrosse County or Dane County, do they have positions like this for reintegration into the community?
Yeah, I'm assuming if their levy supports it through
Okay,
services and programming, it's levied. This would be a grant or a funding source more specifically to, so it doesn't impact the levy itself.
Right. Would you have to hire a staff member, do you think, or do you have one that might be positioned for this position?
It would be hired.
You would hire it, okay,
Yeah, there's nobody internally that would fit this.
okay. And how many years is it?
Seems well, point, it's got some of this year for the transitional stuff and
Yeah.
the next 27.
Okay,
It goes till August 31st and 28th.
oh, okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, maybe Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that we had agreed on a board level that we would not add new positions until budget times, and that would be the only time that we would consider it. The difference with the DHHS funding that Max talked about yesterday, that was to offset our internal costs. That was not adding any new positions. So adding new positions would seem contrary to the county board rule of thumb saying that we only consider new positions at budget time in the fall.
So contract, employee?
It'd be an employee of the county. So this is the first grant that we've ever, or funding source that we saw like this. And they set the parameters on the timelines, and it's 100% no match grant. We would like to apply for.
Right, but once the grant is over, would the position go away?
And
So it's
yes,
a grant funded position.
yes,
The opioid grant that the jail has, isn't that what the case manager and the peer whatever person is? Aren't they supposed to be working with the reintegration of inmates?
to a point. This would be more of a full-time staff member that is funded differently that would segue that in conjunction with this. So again, it's just a grant process or a funding source that would potentially get a full-time person in, because most of the persons we're working with are part-time and they come and go. Currently, we have a couple healthcare workers, or I call that, it's case managers that are vacant because they sooner or later go get jobs. This would make it more sustainable, at least for the year, to see how that reentry program would affect or benefit the jail. I think it's important. Full-time staff is hard to come by and maintain. This just gives us an understanding of what we can attempt to accomplish with reentry programming for inmates to get back into our community.
Do we have somebody actually doing that right now?
To a point, to a level. But again, like I said, we have 2 vacancies with caseworkers now that is not being done as well as it could. So we have to have other staff do that for us. And
Okay.
it's challenging. Some of these funding sources, and they don't come around all the time. And then by maintaining staffing levels like we're experiencing in other divisions, it's very difficult to have that type of service in the rural community.
Is the people at DHSS currently doing this type of thing with the jail?
No.
You guys know?
They did not do reentry.
I'm kind of wondering. I mean, you're on DHSS, aren't you?
And he's the chairman.
Yeah, you're the chairman.
Yeah.
Don't you have people that are kind of fitting this bill for this too, that they could?
No, I think the DHHS works with people on a voluntary basis, and court ordered if you need to have like some behavioral health or and stuff like that. I think they'll do court ordered stuff if they're already out of jail, but it'd be cool if DHHS did more of that stuff. And I don't know if they have the resource time to do that. And plus, I think it's a different facet. I think over there it's more, voluntary, AODA kind of stuff. Right here, obviously, you have a captive audience, and you have to understand somewhat of that. So I would like to think this person would be better set up for success working in the jail within that department. And I'd like to see how this works. Like, I think this is a research, it's a grant, right? This must be a new grant.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, and maybe there's some studies or statistics that suggest having somebody. I'll tell you one thing: when you get released from jail, if you're in jail for a long time, you lose your access to Medicaid. And how many days out of jail does it take for you to get reactivated on Medicaid? It's 60 days. I know it's 60 days in jail, but sometimes you gotta hold people's hands and to let them be successful. So paying a person 80,000 a year to help get these people reintegrated into the community might be cheaper in the long run. When we talk about jail expenses, our main jail expenses is housing inmates, and if we can house less inmates, that leads to a lower jail expense. So I think this is an opportunity for us to help get some research, get some data, and see if a project or a position like this works.
And this is 100%.
Yes. And you gotta remember, I don't wanna this is to apply for it.
Yeah.
And when we get to that point, this will probably be discussed again if we move forward on it. And at the end of the day, if the county feels different, we can not accept a grant or funding. I mean, it'd be terrible not to take advantage of it, but it comes back to you again when we get to that point.
Sure.
This is just to apply for.
Yep.
I think the court system is pretty happy. I know Judge Becker would like to see this.
So, the periods that they're for the grant cycles, they're showing September 1st of 2026 through August 31st of 2027 as the first year cycle, right? That cycle, that doesn't stipulate the time that we have to hire the person. Is it bound by those exact dates? Or is it,
I don't know enough about the timeline yet. Our goal today was to get a permission to apply.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, by the time we get the job description, everything filled out, we'd probably be pressed to hire August-ish anyway. And do background checks and stuff like that. So if we were to start when our fiscal year starts, which would be a couple months after what they have, I'm just wondering if that'd be an issue for the people that provide
can
the
ask.
grant.
We could ask that.
So,
I'll make a motion that gave the approval to apply for the grant.
Motion made by Matt,
Second.
move the application. Seconded it, all in favor?
Aye.
Say
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Got jail operations. Russ had requested that be placed on the agenda. All that, Russ.
So we have a turnover up there. It seems like with nursing positions. And the nurse up there, it always seems like there's always an issue between the nurse and maybe some staff or whatever. And we keep losing them. Now, the problem that I see when we lose a nurse up there is that there's an issue with our COs possibly dealing with meds and that type of thing. That's why I wish Kaylin was here. I wish she was here. But to me, a turnover that we've been having, there's got to be something that we can do up there as far as that problem goes, because it is a problem. If we can't retain people up there, there's a problem. Now we're also going to be losing 2 other personnel, and they're wonderful. The jailers got a hard time up there. It's tough. It's a tough job. 12-hour shifts. That's a long damn shift. And you got people staying over, coming in early, and the burnout rate. I mean, I think that we should possibly look at doing something with the amount of time that they have to spend, maybe 8 hours, cut it back to 8. But the problem is that there has to be something going on up there where we're losing people over and over again. And I'm talking not just, I just want to see what it's going to be all about as far as the jailer position. No, these people are involved with this. They put a lot of time, they put a lot of effort into their positions, and all of a sudden we're losing people again. And to me, there's a problem. There is a problem. We did the walkthrough last fall, right? Were the sprinkler guards put on the sprinklers? No, I know that they pay probably to do that. Were other things, was the guards placed in front of the booking area? So no, that wasn't done. See, the thing is that when we walk in there, because we are required to do it at least once a year, and we go through as a law enforcement committee, and we pick out things that we see that could be a problem or a liability or somebody getting hurt, you know what I'm talking about, or equipment getting, messed up as far as somebody hitting sprinklers and that type of thing, setting them off, and nothing gets done. And to me, why waste our time then? By statute, we're supposed to do it. And we go up there and nothing gets done. Now, to me, that's a problem as far as who's in charge. You're the sheriff, you're chief deputy. But, and I know that you guys aren't up there all the time, but there seems to be a problem up there where we find things out just going through and, find something laying on the floor that could have been used as a shank or whatever. We see a lot of things that we walk through and we pick things out, and all of a sudden those problems are not alleviated. And this has been months. And if something like that would happen, all of a sudden they would say, well, what the hell happened up there in the jail? Somebody hit the sprinklers and they went off, and all of a sudden we've lost equipment, or we've lost, and what are you going to say? Well, we knew about that last September, but we never got around to it. If it's a cost issue, bring it up. But as far as a staffing issue goes, there's got to be something going on up there where we're losing people. And I mean, we're losing damn good people up there. You guys know that. And to me, the nursing position up there is probably the most important position up there as far as liability goes. Somebody doesn't get their meds, they flip out, boom, done. Now we're getting sued, or they get too much, they get sued. Who the hell is up there in charge of the nursing program right now? I don't get it. I don't understand this. There's no reason why we're having such a turnaround up there. Now I hear people say, well, it's because it's a correctional facility. It's hard to find nurses out there. We had no problem finding a nurse, and this contracted people that we have, MSSI, whatever, we can get more nurses. But my biggest worry is that, are we going to have like a rotating door up there over and over again? Is there key people up there that are kind of creating problems for the nursing staff and or even the jailers' positions? Because like I said, I think we really need to take a look, I think y'all need to take a look at the people up there that are in charge. And I'm just using that as a suggestion. I'm trying to be very, very fair about it. I know it's not easy. I wouldn't want to do your all's job.
Let me step in. I think we're getting close to a
Closed session.
with personnel matter.
I would like to make a point of emphasis if I can address the committee. I feel that, to give notice and emphasis that the item that was placed on the agenda is too vague. It didn't allow the office information enough to prepare for your questions.
Okay,
And
fair enough.
I feel that it's really stretching into a generic, which just discourage a generic item of discussion that basically violates the public's interest on this issue, because it wasn't defined or specific enough for if the public wanted to be here to hear these issues. So it could be a meeting agenda type issue, and we are prepared to discuss these issues if they are needed.
Mhm.
It's just in the right venue. And I would agree with the chair on this issue. We're reaching into quite a few areas that could be confidential and subject to closed session. Because there are factors and there's always information has to be shared in a certain way. I would just caution the committee on this generic item and not allowing the sheriff's office enough information to prepare for said item.
I get it.
And I would just use caution that it's really hinging on the rule against having generic items such as this. And the fairness of it is, if it was more detailed, we would have been prepared to discuss what we could and then deal with personnel matters coordinates to what we can or cannot talk about. But there was a lot of information you just shared in your discussion that probably has a place to be discussed. But with not giving proper notice with a generic item, even I discussing it would be violating some level of the item on the agenda.
Well, the reason I brought it to the attention was because this was all brought out in open session in the past. I mean, we were discussing some of these things in the past in open session. So I felt it was okay for me to go and bring this up again. Now, I do understand the fact that you're talking about personnel issues, and I don't use names. But the thing of it is that some of this stuff has to be brought out in the open. And like I said, I agree that in the future, maybe the next meeting or something like that, we can come together and discuss. And I can turn around and say, this is what we need to talk about in depth and maybe in a closed session. But I brought this out in open session because this, everybody has, I'm not saying everybody, but the public knows that we've got turnover up there. The public knows that we've discussed these things in the past about the sprinklers and all this other stuff. So that's all been brought out in the open in the past. I'm just saying right now that, you know, if that's the case where we need to go and we need to have another meeting, which I think we need to do in a very near future, then we need to do that. And we need to go and schedule that. Okay, and I get it. I get what you're saying. I understand. So I'm not using names or anything else. I'm not going to say positions specific because I'm not position specific. I'm just saying personnel. And there's a hell of a lot. So I'm just telling you, I appreciate that. And I appreciate what you guys do. So other than that, that's all I have to say. I'm sorry if I stepped on some people's toes, but you know, that's just sometimes the way I operate. I'm try not to fall in a China shop.
Move on then. Tower update.
Since the last meeting, I know that Cindy Jepson has went out with Steve Cott, taking a look at our towers, kind of getting an idea what's going on there, and they're moving forward with that project. And as recently as yesterday, we had a meeting with Raycom and Steve Cott, and basically the idea was to take a look at if we have some type of failure in the immediate future, what is Raycom's response? What are they able to do? And they're also taking a look at anything we have right now that's not working as well as we'd like it to, or if it can be improved upon. What would it cost to have something like that taken a look at to bridge the gap between now and the ultimate project? There's no numbers or anything that's come out of that yet, but just a discussion about if we have a significant failure, what does that look like? And then how do we move forward to get it fixed so we can continue operating with the radios?
Questions?
Comment I would like is, I think we should start calling this the radio system upgrade. Because it's been called the tower thing. And people are thinking we're gonna construct a bunch of towers. That's not our intent. Or I'm sure PSC's intent. We actually want to use existing towers. It may be all existing towers. And specifically Bug Tussle's towers, which we believe we have access to. And a lot of it's going to be equipment. Going away from microwave into more fiber optic. And so a lot of that cost and the design of the system is equipment. So I'd like to see it called that and would reflect more of what projects.
Questions? I'd like to make one statement is that Jeff, of course, is leaving the board, but I would like to encourage him to stay on the tower committee group. Be very familiar with the operations of the radio systems, and also he is very familiar from the fire department side. He could be a representative for this. Regards that, I don't know if Jeff would be acceptable with that, but
Yeah, I would like
to
to
see
do
it on there.
that's part of that project.
Is there a committee for that?
I don't think it's not a committee right
I
now.
don't think there is right now.
Could be one.
It's just being handled by the management.
Do we want to make that a committee, ad hoc committee?
I think so.
Maybe a point for it might be.
Yeah, why don't we wait till like the PSC people get those results back and go forward? I just way too premature to do something like that.
Very good. So again, I would sure like to see Jeff stay on that.
But hopefully Jeff's not moving out of the area.
No.
No, good. It might be camping or something, but.
Okay, divisional reports. You have them on your computer. Anything in there that the sheriff wants to bring forward or the chief? Any questions, discussion?
One for emergency planning, with the snow event that we had, is there any deadlines that in municipalities have to meet in order to get the funding requested? Has there been anything promulgated?
No, as of yesterday, I went, well, starting on Monday morning, there was the declaration that the governor had issued out. So I started contacting all the townships, the villages, saying, hey, start thinking of putting your numbers together for snow removal, overtime, that kind of stuff. Yesterday, the National Weather Service sent out a thing to the county stating who was able to apply for this declaration. Jackson did not fit into that. So yesterday afternoon, I sent that back out to the townships. Well, this morning, our regional lady through Wisconsin Emergency Management sent the request back to the National Weather Service, asking them to relook at our total gotten snow for Jackson. So later this afternoon, I might hear different, that we might be able to obtain some of those costs from the townships, you know, and that kind of stuff that they occurred during the snow removal. Is that what you meant, Bill?
Mhm.
Okay.
No other discussions on any items?
Yeah, one other question too, and also emergency planning. Just a follow-up from the local emergency planning committee meeting. I was curious for the attendance on that meeting, if you had followed up with any of the people who had missed the meeting as to why they had missed. And
Are you talking the LEPC meeting?
yes, yeah.
I have not, no.
Okay, move on. Staffing vacancies and recruitment updates.
So right now, we've received 2 letters that will be losing 2 full-time people up in the jail. And we also have 1 dispatch person who has requested to go from full-time to part-time. And the other position that we have open right now would be that communication feeds that have spot that's still, as well as the contract deputy position is still open, assisting work with the IT. Oh, I'm sorry, the ICT special or IT specialist position is still open. That has applications that are coming in for right now. And we have interviews set for tomorrow for dispatch positions. Oh, I'm sorry. Then we also have an admin support person that was hired, and they are be coming in the 3rd. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not ours. We also have been working with MSSI, and they have a nurse that will be starting this week.
Nursing issue is good.
It's great hospital.
Okay, let's move on. Discuss act vouchers payable and budget review.
I got a question. I don't know if I'm gonna get outside of the agenda, but is there any way we can develop like a non-lapsing account for capital expenditures? So, you know, if we had to request money Monday night for tasers that wasn't involved with the budget for 2026, like, say like, when I'm gonna go build a house, you know, I'll put money into a savings account. Is that, I know government's very horrible saving money, but is that something we might want to look into? So in 5 years, we're gonna have to replace these tasers that we're getting now. Is there somehow we can create a non-lapsing account where we can put $10,000 in a year? And then in 5 years, we have $50,000 to help go towards these tasers?
Can I respond to that?
Yeah.
Cindy.
The auditors really frown upon having non-lapsing accounts.
Okay.
We do have several non-lapsing accounts. So I mean, it's possible, but we do have the capital reserve fund right now, which is a lot of times used to offset the budget for capital expenses.
Mhm.
So like when we did the budget and there was the money that was budgeted for the tasers, that came out of that capital
Okay.
reserve fund.
So it's not really a budget, you know, Tom had said we went over budget. You know, it's not so much poor budgeting on the law enforcement committee, it's just that we just,
Where the money's come from.
yeah,
Basically,
yeah. And I was thinking this is a way, because I know a couple years, actually, before I got on law enforcement, we had to spend $250,000 on a server or something like that at the dispatch center. It'd be kind of cool if we could have like a non-lapsing account, like a savings account for the law enforcement, sheriff's department. Or,
IT has a non-lapsing account for like the servers, that kind
Okay.
of thing, because, you know, those are,
yeah,
one year it could be 600,000, the next year it could be nothing.
yeah,
So like the computer IT is set up with a non-lapsing account.
okay. I just want to bring that up. It's like, I don't know if it's the committee's fault on budgeting, or if this how the government structured, and that in 5 years we'll have to fork out another 100,000 for tasers and stuff, so.
Right.
It would
Like I
get,
said, we do have that capital reserve fund, but
Okay.
that's usually funded with timber sales. So as timber sales go down,
yeah,
and we're running out of money there.
we'll have to put again, I think we're getting way out of the balance, we'll have to put some of the carbon credit money in there. So,
Oh, so I was wondering, can't we just use carbon credit money or something like that?
I don't know,
Eventually,
Chairman, I think we're getting way off into, it's my fault, I got.
That's all right.
But
I'd like to address the 26 budget. Just to remind the committee, put in a request for capital improvements for the TASER project that was cut and other capital improvements. So just remind yourself, I think it's a good discussion, but it's not that the sheriff's office didn't request or estimate spending in this area that was subsequently cut. And I get it. You guys have the big decision of making what money goes where, but it's unfair to say that we didn't budget it. It's cut.
right, it's just a function of government, they function a lot different than real people do.
I got a motion to approve, voucher pay.
I'll second
Second,
I second it.
seconded by Bill. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried. Any further discussion on the budget itself? Okay. Done. Motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance valuation data of public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Leave of absent request. Okay, need a motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion.
Motion made by Ron, the second. Excuse me, by Russ, and second by Ron. Roll call vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, we are now in closed session, take a short break.